free publicity, it's out there to be grabbed. Now, I know you might be thinking, oh, well, look, it's fine for you because, you know, you're in the marketing game and you know a lot of journalists and you just know how to get the TV or radio stations or newspapers or magazines to take notice of what you've got to say. No. I mean, of course, I've got a lot of experience in doing this, but you can do it too. You see, you know, magazines and television stations and radio stations and newspapers, either online or offline, are all looking for things that are newsworthy. Okay, so therefore you need to provide them with information about your product or services that is newsworthy. And that's not going to happen if you just simply send out a media release that says, oh look, you know, we're celebrating our 25th anniversary and even though it's our birthday, our customers get the presents. Boring. Okay, you will not get publicity that way. You need to tell a story that is either demonstrating a new invention or it's a little provocative. Okay, so you know that to get on the news without running down the alleyway and putting your hands up against your face because you're a criminal, let's hope that's not the way you get publicity. If it's not that, then of course the two ways to get publicity is to invent something, which unfortunately not many of us come up with a Coke formula that often, or to actually be a little provocative. Now that's where my vote goes. I'm normally a little provocative in my media releases and therefore I'm lucky enough to get quite a bit of publicity. So for example, when I was doing a seminar tour last year during the Australian federal elections, I decided that the best way to get publicity would be to expose both of the major political parties for being morons when it came to marketing skills. And the two political parties here in Australia, the Liberal Party and the Labor Party, had an election campaign which was probably the most boring election campaign anyone had ever seen. And so therefore my headline when I sent out the media release to television stations and radio stations and newspapers and magazines was the most boring election of all time. Both of these political parties have absolutely no clue when it comes to marketing. And then I went on to explain that what they should do is take a leaf out of Barack Obama's book in both his election campaigns, but certainly his first one, when he pushed the "Yes, we can" tagline. Okay, and I also suggested that they might take a leaf out of the book of Gough Whitlam, a famous Australian Prime Minister who won an election in the 1970s through a very clever campaign called It's Time. Okay, and the Liberal government had been in for about 15 or 16 years and his campaign was for the Labor Party, it's time that we made a change. A very, very clever campaign. He rallied the support of a whole lot of celebrities and TV personalities and sporting stars, and he romped to victory on the back of that campaign. So I set that out. Guess what? I had every radio station and newspaper and magazine in the country ringing me, asking for my thoughts, being the marketing expert, on what the Liberal and Labor parties should be doing. Now, of course, the deal that I did with all of those journalists was that at the end of the interview, they promoted the fact that this marketing expert was going to be in town doing a seminar on wow factor marketing on whatever date that was. And they all played ball. I think all bar one newspaper, radio station, TV station gave me the benefit of, of them promoting my seminar that was coming up in that particular city within a few days thereafter. Okay, so I filled my rooms largely as a result of that publicity campaign. It was a tour that was put together at the last moment, and so therefore I used free publicity tactics to fill the seats, and that's exactly what happened. Now you've got to think about doing the same thing for your product or service. Your media release should be something that's newsworthy, should be something that might be, like mine was, a little provocative, and so therefore it positions you as being the sarcastic expert, and every journalist wants to interview the sarcastic expert, trust me, okay? Free publicity doesn't necessarily have to come just with a media release. It may very well be that you give some samples of your product or service away. When I, back in the 90s, had a business that involved the bubblegum footy cards, the trading cards, I would give 2 million trading cards to the major Sunday newspapers here in Australia. Now, 2 million cards at 1 cent each meant it cost me $20,000, but the big major Sunday newspapers would put me on the front page of the newspaper, unless they found Elvis. The 2/3 of the front page of the paper said, get your free football cards in today's newspaper. They would hand the samples out, of course. When you got the newspaper, the samples came with it, and I was sold out of the $2 packs at the news agencies within a fortnight thereafter. Okay, why? Because I was publicised, or my football cards were publicised on the front page of the newspaper, and guess what? The newspaper would put together $200,000, $300,000 worth of television advertising leading up to that Sunday, telling everyone, get your free footy cards in this Sunday's paper. You see, so therefore I gave something away to the newspapers, that was Rupert Murdoch's News Limited newspapers, in order to get massive publicity. $20,000 worth of football cards and getting $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 worth of free exposure, I think is a pretty good return on investment. I was on the front page where the Prime Minister would be lucky to get on the front page when he wanted to, okay? It may well be that if you're a nursery and you've got some seeds, some flower seeds that you want to give away, you may do a deal with the local newspaper whereby, they feature, hopefully on the front page, that every reader will get a free packet of your seeds with this newspaper, and therefore, of course, they push people to clip the coupon and take it to your nursery in order to exchange the coupon for a free packet, and so on and so forth. You get the gist of it, okay? So therefore you can get free publicity through media releases of having an interesting and newsworthy article, or you can get free publicity through you actually offering the media the opportunity to give away free samples of your product or service.